Hello and welcome to part 4 of our JAMB Mathematics Past Question for 2023. In this video, I'm going to be solving 10 questions relating to this year past question. Now, if you've not watched my previous 3 parts, I will encourage you to do so, but you can also watch this on its own. As I solve through this question, if you have any question, please drop them in the comment section and I'll do well to respond to them as soon as I can. I've also included links to tutorial videos on topics related to the questions I'll be addressing so you can take a deeper dive into them. If you're not subscribed to this channel, please make sure you do so and give this video a like and also turn on the notification bell so that you can get updated when I upload new content that you can find useful. So without further ado, let's get started solving the JAMB Mathematics Past Question for 2023 part 4. So question 31 says that a committee of 5 is to be chosen from a group of 6 men and 4 women. How many committees are possible if there is to be a majority of women? So we want to make a committee of 5 people. Now we can choose from 6 men and 4 women, but there's a condition that has been given. And what is the condition? And 4 women rather. Now what is the condition? The condition is that the majority of them must be women. So now there are different ways in which this is possible. The first combination, the first way this is open is either if my committee is made up of what? 3 women and what? And 2 men. Now, in this scenario, women are a majority, so that's all good. Another scenario is if I have what? All women. If I choose all women, 4 women, and I just pick 1 man. And if I do that again, I can see that the majority are women. Now I cannot have any other combination. Another combination would have been potentially to have 5 women alone, but that is not possible because I only have 4 women to choose from. So these are the only 2 possible scenarios in which the majority is going to be a woman. So now, how do I now solve this? So that means I need to find what number of ways in which I can have 2 women and 2 men. Then I have to sum it up with the number of ways in which I can have what? 4 women and 1 man. And that will give me the total number of ways. Now this is a classic combination problem. And if you remember our formula for combination, it says n combination r is equal to what? N factorial over what? N minus r factorial. R factorial. So in this case, let's try to represent this in terms of our factorial terms. So selecting 3 women will be what? Selecting 3 women now, that is going to be what? And how many women do I have altogether? I have 4 women. So that is be like selecting 3 women from 4. So that will be 4 combination 3 times. Now I want to select 2 men. How many men do I have? I have 6 men, so that will be times what? 6 combination 2 because I'm selecting 2 from 6. Then plus, what is this other scenario? I'm selecting 4 women from 4. That will be what? 4 combination 4 times what? Selecting 1 man from 6 men is just going to be what? 6 combination 1. Now I can apply this formula. So what is this going to be? So 4 combination 3 is just what? 4 factorial over 4 minus 3 factorial, then times 6 combination 3 is just going to be 6 factorial over 6 minus 4 factorial, 2 factorial, then plus 4 combination 4 is just going to be 4 factorial over 4 minus 4 factorial, 4 factorial, then times 6 combination 1 is just going to be 6 factorial over 6 minus 1 factorial, 1 factorial. So how do I simplify this? This just becomes 4 factorial. Remember, 4 factorial or n 4 factorial is just 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. So this just becomes what? I can write this as what? 4 times 3 factorial because 3 factorial is 3 times 2 times 1 over 4 minus 3 is 1 factorial and 1 factorial is 1 times 3 factorial. Then times this becomes what? 6 6 minus 2, rather, that is what I'm supposed to have in here. So this becomes 6 times 5 times 4 factorial, and 6 minus 2 is what? 4 factorial times 2 factorial. 2 factorial is just what? 2 times 1 times 2 times 1, yeah, plus this becomes 4 factorial over 4 minus 4 is 0 factorial and 4 factorial, then times, what do I have here? 6 factorial over 6 minus 1 is 5 factorial, then times 1 factorial, 1 factorial is 1. So I can simplify. 3 factorial cancels out 3 factorial, 4 factorial cancels out 4 factorial, this 4 cancels out this 4 factorial, and what am I left with? This is just the same thing as having 4 times, I have 2 factorial is 2, so 6 times 5 is 30 divided by 2, that is going to be 15, plus this is going to be 1 because 0 factorial is 1 and 1 divided by 1 is 1, 1 times, now 6 factorial divided by 5 factorial, I'm going to do that by the side. 6 factorial is the same thing as writing 6 times 5 factorial, because 5 factorial will be 5 times 4 times 3 times 1, they divided by 5 factorial, and this cancelled out this, so you're left with 6. So 6 factorial divided by 5 factorial is what? Is 6. So what does this become? 6 times 15 is 60, or 4 times 15 is 60, and 1 times 6 is 6, and that 60 plus 6 is what? 66, and that makes option C the correct option. If you'd like more clarity, I encourage you to watch my tutorial video on combination, which I've included in the link in the description. So moving on to the next question, we're told that tickets for a school play were priced at 520 naira each for adults and 250 each for kids. How many kids tickets were sold if the total sales were 171,000 and there were 5 times as many tickets sold as students' tickets? So the first thing I'll do is that let the total adult tickets sold, let total for the adults, let's represent that as A, or the total number of adult tickets, so let's call that A, and let's call the number of tickets sold by the kids or sold for kids as what? As K. So now if there were A adult tickets sold, the price that we'll get for the total number of adult tickets is just going to be A times the price of the adult ticket. So now the amount gotten, so now this is the amount gotten now. So the first part, the number of, this is for the total tickets. We say that let the total tickets for A be A, for adults be A, and for kids be K. So now what will be the total amount generated? Total amount generated will just be the number of tickets we sold and times the price. So for the adults, the amount we would have gotten will be the price of the adult ticket, which is 520, times the amount of ticket that we sold, which is A. And for the kids, it's going to be the price of the kids ticket, which is 250, and the number of kids ticket which is sold, which is K. So now we thought that the total amount when you add both of them together was what? 171,000 naira. So we can write that out as an equation. So we have 520 A plus 250K is equals to 171,000. Now we are also given a second condition that there were 5 times as many adult tickets sold as children's tickets or as kids tickets, meaning that the total number of adult tickets sold A is equals to what? 5 times the number of kids tickets sold. So now we know that A is 5K, so we can substitute that into this equation over here. So this becomes 520 into bracket 5K plus 250K is equals to 171,000. So what does this become? 520 times 5 becomes 2,600K plus 250K is equals to 171,000, and this becomes 2850K is equals to 171,000, and dividing both sides by 2850, that brings it to what? K being equals to what? 60. Now this is the number of keys tickets sold, and the question just asks us the total number of keys tickets sold. That would be 60, and that makes option D the correct option. Now, if we are told to find the number of adult tickets sold, because we found the number of keys to be 60, we can just put that into this expression here, and we have 60 times 5, and that's going to be 300. So we know that there were 100 adult tickets sold and 60 keys tickets sold. Moving on to the next question, we are told to solve the following quadratic inequality. Now, quadratic inequality is a very interesting topic that I like to address, but let's walk through this to see how it goes. So, looking at this carefully, first we want to do is try to collect like times and just try to make the right hand side of the equation to be equal to 0. So we have x squared minus x minus 4, then minus 2 will be less than or equals to 0. So we can factorize. We have to make sure that the right hand side is 0. So what does this become? This becomes x squared minus x minus 6 is less than or equals to 0. So we have to factorize. Multiply the first and the last term, and that gives us minus 6x squared. So what two numbers can I multiply together to get minus 6x squared? But when I sum or subtract, I get what? Minus x. So that becomes what? Minus 3x and 2x. Because minus 3x times 2x will give me minus 6x squared, and minus 3x plus 2x will give me minus x. So I replace this minus x with what I have over here, and that becomes x squared minus 3x plus 2x minus 6 is less than or equals to 0. And I can factorize now. X is common here. I have x minus 3, and 2 is common here, so I have plus 2 is common, and I'm left with what? X minus 3. So this becomes what? X minus 3 and what? X plus 2 must be what? Less than or equals to 0. Now, how do we go about solving it? And that lies in understanding what we have over here. Now, we're told that when you multiply this and this, you're going to get a number that is less than or equals to 0. That means the number can either be 0 or a negative number. So when you think about it, in what scenarios would you multiply two numbers and get a negative number? It's either when you multiply it's either you multiply a positive number by a negative number. This is going to give a negative number. Or it's either you multiply a negative number by a positive number. That is going to give you also a negative number. So what does that mean? That means if you want to multiply these two numbers to get a number less than 0, it's either the first number here. I'm trying to work with this condition over here now, plus times minus. It's either this condition over here, x plus 3 is plus. So it's either x minus 3 is positive or greater than equals to 0, and x plus 2 is less than or equals to 0. Now, these are the only scenario in which when you multiply them, you're going to get a negative number. Or the second scenario, which is over here, is either if the first number is negative. In that case, that will be x minus 3 is less than or equals to 0, and the second number is positive, and x plus 2 is greater than or equals to 0. So now we can solve these inequalities. So what do we have here? This just becomes x is greater than is equal and equals to 3, or x is less than or equals to what? Less than or equals to minus 2. Now, on the second condition, is either x is less than or equals to 3 and x is greater than or equals to minus 2. Now let's think about it in a number line. Think of a number x. We are told that, let me draw the number line. In the number line, this is 0. We have the number 3 over here, and we have the number 2. Now we told that x is greater than 3. X is greater than 3. At the same time, x is less than or equals to minus 2. Now, in this second scenario, we are told that what? X is what? Let me draw the number line over here to make it make sense. We have 3 over here, and we have what? Minus 2. We are told that x is less than 3. X is less than 3. And at the same time, x is greater than minus 2. So that gives us what we have over here. So in terms of what we have over here. So combining both of them together, we can see that this encompasses both condition, and the value of x is going to lie between -2 and 3. So we can say that -2 is less than equals to x, and x is less than or equals to 3 by combining both of them together, and that makes option B the correct option. Now, if you require further clarity on quadratic inequality, I know it can be a tricky subject. I've included a link to a tutorial video on that, so you can understand the way in which we combine these diagrams together to arrive at the result. Now, moving on to the next, we are told that the locus of a point equidistant from two intersecting line. So I'm just going to say we have two intersecting line. Let me just draw two line and they're intersecting. Now they're asking us that what is the locus of a point that is equal distance from two intersecting line. That means the line must pass through equal distance from these two intersecting line. As you can see, this line that pass through equal distance from these two intersecting line is just going to be a line that divides the angle of those two intersecting lines into two equal parts. So what option results in that? So is A where the sum of the distance of the two focal points is fixed? No. The collection of points that are equal distance from a fixed point and a line? No. The perpendicular bisector of the line? No. Or a pair of bisector of the angles between the two lines? Yes. Because a locus of point that is equidistant from two intersecting line is going to divide the angles into, so that is why we have a pair of bisector of the angles, and that makes option D the correct option. For more clarity on loci, I've included a link to a tutorial video on that, so you can better understand how we interpret these terms like locus, equidistance, bisector, what they all mean, so you can address any kind of question that comes moving forward. So moving on, we're told that the line 3y plus 6x and equals 48 passes through the point this. Find the value of k. So what does this mean? It means that passes through the point A and B. So we are told the equation of a line. And we're told that the equation of the line is what? 3y plus 6x is equals to 48. Now we're told that it passes through the points what? -2 and k, and the points what? And the points 4 and 8. Now they are telling us to now find the value of k. How can we find the value of k? We have been given the equation of the straight line, so let me write that out over here. So we have 3y plus 6x is equals to 48. So what we need to do is to find what the slope of the line is, because once we know the slope of the line, we know that if we find the slope using the points that have been given, that must be equal to the slope of the line. Then we can estimate what the value of k. As I solve through the question, that is going to make sense. So to find the slope, let's try to write this out in the form of y equals to mx plus c. So this becomes 3y is equals to -6x plus 48, right? Good. So we can divide through by 3. And what does that simplify to? We have y is equals to -2x, and 48 divided by 3 is 16. So we can compare that with y is equals to mx plus c. And that will mean that my slope m is what? Is -2. I know that the slope of this line is -2. So how do I find the slope of a line given 2 points? So I know that the slope of a line given this point m is equals to what? y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That's the formula of the slope. And I can label those points. I'm going to label this x1 and y1, and I'm going to label this x2 and y2. And now I found that the slope is what? Slope is -2. So m is -2. So -2 is equals to, what is my y2? My y2 is 8, and my y1 is what? Is k. And what is my x2? My x2 is what? My x2 is 4, and my y2 is -2. So what does this become? This just becomes -2 is equals to 8 minus k over minus times minus is plus. So 4 plus is going to be 6. Then I can cross multiply. And I have that result in what? -12 is equals to 8 minus k. So this can come, I can bring k to the other side and 12 to the other side. So k just becomes what? 8 plus 12. And that is equals to 20. So the value of k is what? 20. And that makes option B the correct option. Moving on to number 36, we are told to differentiate the function. Now this is a scary looking function, and that can be a bit tricky to solve. So how do we differentiate this function? So this is the same thing as saying y is equals to what? X squared into brackets 2x minus x squared all raised to the power of what? 1 over 3, right? Because the cubic is the same thing as raised to the power of 1 over 3. And this is the same thing as saying y is equals to x when I take it this power individually. Same thing as saying x to the power of 2 over 3 times 2x minus x squared raised to the power 1 over 3. So now you can see that I have two terms. So how do I differentiate it? So I can make use of the product rule. Now the product rule say that if y is equals to uv, that dy over dx, or differentiating y with respect to x, is just going to be what? I'm going to take the first term u and I'll differentiate the second term with respect to x, dv over the x, plus I'm going to take the second term v and I'll differentiate the first term with respect to x times du over dx. So applying that concept over here, so dy over the x will be equals to, I'm going to take my first term is x to the power of 2 over 3, and I'm going to try to differentiate this with respect to x. So to differentiate, I need to bring the power down. That will be 1 over 3. Then let me just write the formula here. So if I have a to the power of n, for example, and I want to differentiate that is just going to be what? N a raised to the power n minus 1. And that is essentially what I'm doing here. Plus I'm using the chain rule also. This is going to be 1 over 3, which is what I have over here, which is the power 1 over 3, then times I'm going to have 2x minus x squared. Then I'm going to take away 1 from the power. So taking away 1 from minus 1 over 3 will give me minus 2 over 3. And because of the chain rule, I have to differentiate what is in here. And that is going to be what? 2 minus 2x. Then plus, I have to take the second term v, which is what I have over here. 2x minus x squared raised to the power 1 over 3. Then I have to multiply it by the differentiation of this. So differentiate that, I'm just going to take multiply by the power 2 over 3 times x, and I'm going to take away 1 from 2 over 3, and that is going to be what? Minus 1 over 3. Now as you can see, this is already a very long equation in which you have some x terms in there, and when you look at your option, easily you can see that there is no x term in any of the option. So you know that your final result is going to have an x term, which you do not have here. So what does that mean? That means that you can as well just get rid. That means none of these options are actually correct, and the correct option is D. So this is one of the ways in which you can save time rather than trying to solve through and simplify this equation, which is going to be a really tedious thing to do. You can see that there's going to be x terms in the result, and none of the options have an x term, so you can infer that the correct answer is not in this option, and that makes option D the correct option. Moving on to the next, we are told to find the value of y if 402 base y is equals to 102 base 10. Now this is a very interesting question. Now so the first thing we need to do now, we know that it's already in base 10, so there's no issue. So we need to convert this to base 10. So how do we convert any base to base 10? What we do is that we write out each of those numbers, for example, and multiply it by the base. So we have 2 times y plus, we're going to have 0 times y, and finally we have what? Plus 4 times y. Now for the y base that we have, we're going to be raising it in power of increasing in ascending order, starting from 0 from right to left. So this will be times y raised to power 0, this will be times y raised to power 1, and times y raised to power 2. And that is how we can convert any number in any base to base 10. So this just become equals to 102, which is already in base 10. So what does this become? y raised power 0 is 1 because anything raised power 0 is 1, right? So this is the same thing as saying 4y squared plus, I know that 0 times any number is 0 is 0, and we've said that anything raised power 0 is 1, so 2 times 1 is 1, plus 2 is equals to 102. So 4y squared will be equals to 102 minus 2, which is equals to 100. So we can divide both sides by 4. And what does that give us? So we have what? Y squared is equals to 100 divided by 4 is what? Is 25. So y will just be the square root of 25. And what is that? And that is what? And that is 5. So the base of this number that is equals to 102 in base 10 is base 5. And that makes option C the correct option. Moving on to question 38. We are told that a coin is thrown 3 times. What is the probability that at least one head is obtained? So we take a coin and we throw it 3 times. So when we throw a coin, there are there are altogether, because a coin has two faces or 2 sides, and we are throwing the coin 3 times. So the number of possible combinations is just going to be 2 raised by the number of times you are throwing the coin, and that is going to be 2 over 3, and that is going to be 8. So there are 8 possible combinations that you can get from this experiment. So just to list some of them, or just for sake of completeness, let me just try to see if I can list everything. Combination is, I can either first time throw an head, second time throw an head, and the third time throw an head. Or I can first throw an head, throw an head the second time again, and throw a tail the third time. Or I can throw an head the first time, throw a tail the second time, and throw a head the third time. Or I can throw a tail the first time, throw a head the second time, and throw a tail and throw a head the third time. Or I can throw a head the first time, I can throw a tail the second time, and I can throw a tail the third time. Or I can throw a tail the first time, throw a head the second time, and throw a tail the third time. Or I can throw a tail the first time, throw a tail the second time, and throw a head the third time. Or I can throw a tail the first time, a tail the second time, a tail the third time. And how many combinations is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. As you can see, these are the 8 possible outcomes. But the question is, what is the probability that at least one head is obtained? So as you can see, in all this scenario, at least one head is obtained, apart from the final scenario where you obtain only a tail all through. So that means, how many possibilities do I have in which an head can appear? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That is going to be 7. And how many do I have altogether, or how many possible outcomes? 8 possible outcomes. So the probability of having at least one head, that means you can have one head or more, is just going to be what? 7 over 8. And that makes option A the correct option. Now, a quicker way to address this question is by making use of the complement rule. And what do I mean by that? Let me just quickly delve into that. So what the complement rule says, that if I know that, okay, the probability of having at least one head, probability of having at least one head is equals to 1 minus the probability of having no head. Now, in what scenario would I have no head? It's only when I have tail. That's when I have no head, and that can only occur once. So that is just going to be 1 minus probability of having no head is just going to be 1 over 8, because that is probability of having tail. And 1 minus 1 over 8 is 7 over 8, and we still resolve in the same option A. So moving on to the next question, we are told that if 3 minus root 3 over 2 plus root 3 is equals to a plus b root 3, what are the values of a and b? So we are told to simplify this and figure out what the value of a and b is. So what do we need to do? We need to rationalize this sort, and the way we do it is by multiplying by the conjugate. And what do I mean by multiplying by the conjugate? Conjugate means that we multiply by the denominator. We multiply the numerator and the denominator by the denominator, but we just change the sign in between. So this becomes multiply the numerator by 2, but this becomes minus root 3 over 2 minus root 3. And why do we do this? The reason why we multiply by the conjugate is that when we multiply by the conjugate, we can get rid of the square root sign in the denominator. And as you will see as we continue solving this question. So so this becomes what? This becomes 2 minus root 3. Oh, sorry, this is 3 minus root 3. My bad, from the question. So this becomes 3 minus root 3 times, oh sorry, this is supposed to be 2 because I'm multiplying by the denominator. Yeah, so this remains 2 minus root 3. Yeah, so 3 minus 3 times 2 minus root 3 over 2 plus root 3 times 2 minus root 3. So how do I solve this? Let's try to expand. So I have 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times minus root 3 is minus 3 root 3. Minus root 3 times 2 is minus 2 root 3. And minus root 3 times minus root 3 is just going to be plus 3, because root 3 times root 3 is 3. Minus times minus is plus, so that will be plus 3. And we do the same for the denominator. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times minus root 3 is minus 2 root 3. Root 3 times 2 is plus 2 root 3. And root 3 times minus root 3, root 3 times root 3 is 3. Plus times minus is minus. I'm going to be left with minus 3. So what does, we have minus 2 root 3 and we have plus 2 root 3. So this cancels out. And what are we left with? We calculate like times. 6 plus 3 is 9. We have 9. And minus 3 minus 2 gives me what? Minus 5 root 3 over. And I'm left with what? 4 minus 3. And 4 minus 3 is 1. And that is what I mean by getting rid of the square root in the denominator when we multiply by the conjugate. So that just becomes what? 9 minus 5 root 3. So if I compare that to the expression I was given, which is what? A plus B root 3, I can see that my value of A is what? If I compare, my A is going to be equal to what? 9. And my B is going to be equal to what? Minus 5. And that makes option A the correct option. So moving on to the final question for part 4, we are told to make x the subject of formula. So we are given that y is equals to 3x minus 9c over 4x plus 5d. And we are told to make x the subject of formula. So what do? The first thing we have to do first is cross multiply. So I have y into bracket 4x plus 5d is equals to 3x minus 9c. So I can expand this. This becomes y times 4x becomes 4xy. Y times 5d becomes plus 5yd or plus 5dy, any way you want to say it, is equals to 3x minus 9c. So I can collect like times. I'm going to bring all the term with x to this side and take the others to the other side. So this becomes what? 4xy minus 3x is equals to minus 90, and when that comes to that side, it becomes minus 5dy. Now I can factorize x. So when I factorize x, I'm left with what? 4y minus 3. Or I can factor out x is equals to minus 90 minus 5dy. And now I can divide both sides by 4y minus 3. Divided by 4y minus 3. And what am I left with? This cancels out this. And I'm left with what? X is equals to what? Minus 90 minus 5dy over 4y minus 3. And what option corresponds to that? That will be option A. And that makes option A the correct option. And that brings us to the end of part 4 of our JAMB Past Question for 2023. If you have any question, please do not forget to drop them in the comment section and I will do well to respond to them. And again, do not forget to give this video a big like, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications so you can get updated when I upload new content. See you in the next part. Bye for now.